What's up, y'all? I'm Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, one of the highest rated hospitality podcasts in the world, brought to you by us at Schedulefly. We provide a very simple web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. If you're on pencil and paper or Excel, or you're on some software with tons of bells and whistles and features you don't need or use, Schedulefly is the perfect place for you. Easy to use, point, click, and go, and we'll take great care of you. Schedulefly.com, free trial, check it out. Also, this podcast is brought to you by our sponsors, Pop Menu and The Giving Kitchen and Kickfin, and you're going to hear about them in just a minute. First of all, let's talk about today's guest. All right, y'all. This is awesome because we had another opportunity today to speak with somebody that's on the leadership team for the Indigo Road Hospitality Group. Oh, what an amazing organization. Justin Shoener runs their finance operations. Guy has been in hospitality since he was a 16-year-old working at McDonald's. He's 46 years old now. This is what he's done for 30 years. He loves the industry, and he gets it. And everybody I come across at Indigo Road gets it. It is a special organization. Listen, you wonder why this group has grown so much so fast. Culture, people, mentality, philosophy, the way they treat their people. You just listen to this and you go, this is how it's done. This is the right way to do this. And by the way, so this is an awesome episode, and it was so fun doing these in studio. The more we can do these in here, the better. These are great conversations. I think we went over the time. I hope he didn't have to rush off too fast, because I think I went too long, but I could have talked to him all day. And one more thing I want to say, for those of you that are not watching this, that are listening, I have on my Sup Dogs shirt. So shout out to Sup Dogs. I've got my Taco Lou coffee cup that they gave me when I was down there last year. So a couple of awesome customers, as are a lot of the restaurants at the Indigo Road. And we're super stoked to serve them, and super, super excited to have this opportunity to share this episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Stay tuned. And one more thing, when you get done with this episode, do us a favor and go on to it, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or Google or wherever you listen to this, or if you're on YouTube watching this, give us a thumbs up or a like or a 5-star. Any comments you make are awesome, because all these things get the algorithms to put this content in front of more people that are looking for it. So it's really cool if you take 5 seconds to do that. We'd love you for it. Thank y'all. Give your team the gift of Pop Menu AI Answering, a simple solution for phones ringing off the hook. AI Answering handles calls 24/7, 365 days a year, so your staff can focus on in-person guests. Customize your greetings and responses, answer common questions, promote specials and events, and send follow-up links to ordering and reservations. AI Answering handles it all while escalating more complex conversations back to your team. Never miss another tasty revenue opportunity. Pop Menu, the marketing technology platform designed to make growing your restaurant easy. Discover more AI restaurant tools that turn your to-do list into an already done list by requesting a demo today. For a limited time, get $100 off your first month, plus lock in one unchanging monthly rate at popmenu.com. Go now to get $100 off your first month at popmenu.com. Be sure to tell them that Will from Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast and Schedulefly sent you. Y'all, this is a great business. I just told you what they like me to say. I will say that we have a lot of mutual customers at Schedulefly with Pop Menu. They all agree. Great product, great customer service, great results. Check them out, popmenu.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Giving Kitchen. Giving Kitchen provides emergency assistance for food service workers through financial support and a network of community resources. Since its inception in 2013, Giving Kitchen has served over 15,000 food service workers and awarded over $10.5 million to food service workers in crisis. If you or someone you know is a food service worker in crisis, please ask for help. thegivingkitchen.org, and again, that's thegivingkitchen.org. Y'all, this is a phenomenal organization. Jen, the founder, has been on this podcast. Jen Heidinger Kendrick. Check out that episode to hear their full story. But if you know somebody or you need help, go to thegivingkitchen.org. Incredible, incredible organization and very responsive and has a wonderful mission. Check them out. All right. Well, Justin, thank you for joining today.
Yeah.
Just do me a favor and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Justin Shoener, Director of Restaurant Financial Operations with the Indigo Road Restaurant Group.
The Indigo Road Restaurant Group. So we had Chris Amato on and Kimball Brienza a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And you were a group, Steve was on this podcast years ago. It was in our second book. I feel so fortunate to have a connection with you all. You've got an amazing, amazing organization. Indigo Road you've gone from, as you and I were talking, I think when Steve was on here 8 or 9 years ago, 7 or 8 or whatever locations, and now you're at 2
30.
hotels, a bunch on the way, and 30 restaurants.
Yeah.
Oh man. And how many are opening this year?
We've got 8 things opening this year between hotels and restaurants. We've got 8 things that are opening. It's going to be busy.
So many things I want to ask you about. Okay, well, let's start with this. I always ask people, the first thing I always ask is how and why did you get into hospitality initially?
Yeah, this is what I've done my entire life. When I was 16, I started at McDonald's.
16. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay. Oh.
And
University of Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, and then
cool
I
town.
moved to Florida when I was 12.
Okay.
So I went from extreme cold to extreme heat.
Yeah.
And then I was at McDonald's for 3 years. Then I was a dishwasher at Outback Steakhouse, a busser at Outback Steakhouse. Got into serving there. And then went and started serving at a high-end steakhouse in Orlando. Got into a manager and training program. It kind of just all went from there. Came with the Indigo Road in 2016.
2016. Where were you just prior to that?
I was with a restaurant group where I became a manager, and then I was with an independent restaurant group in Orlando for about 10 years.
Okay.
And grew with them. And then we really, my family and I, we knew we wanted to get out of Florida.
Yeah.
Because it was so hot and getting so crowded.
Right.
And so we, somebody that we knew Steve, and I started to research the Indigo Road, and I, really looked at the website a lot and did a little bit of research, and I was like, this is a place I know I can learn from. It's different, and it seems to be a very high quality. So I reached out. I actually had applied for the GM position at Oku Sushi in Atlanta, and then ended up in Charlotte, where we ended up, doing 4 restaurants there, and just kind of went from there. So it's been pretty awesome.
You've been on both extremes, from McDonald's to, some good high end, just freaking badass restaurants, man.
Yeah.
And everything in between. Well, okay, so you're 16. You worked at McDonald's for 3 years. What was that? Was there a point where you said, I like the action, I like the activity, I like the hustle, or was it just early on, just I got to make money, so I need a job, so I'm just doing this? Was there a point where you realized, like at McDonald's, where you said, this is kind of cool, actually?
It was up the road from my house. So, and my parents were like, okay, you're 16, you need to get a job. It's what it is. So I did.
Yeah.
They had asked me to get into management when I was there. And so I was 19, and I realized that's not really the path I want to go. So I went to Outback, because at the time I loved Outback. I thought it was great, and so started there, and then I saw all the things that were happening in the dining room. And I was a busser, and I had worked in the kitchen a little bit. I had done dishes. I was like, I want to get out there. So I went out in the dining room and did server training and became a server. And I really liked being a part of that excitement that was happening in the dining room. And then, from there, really wanted to continue to grow. And there was a restaurant in town that was a high-end steakhouse. So I went there and applied, and was nervous as heck. And so got a serving position there, and it was tuxedos, bow ties, the whole thing.
Oh,
high-end
really?
steakhouse. Yeah. I knew nothing about wine.
Mm.
And so I'm sitting there around all these people that know about wine. And so that's really where I got wine knowledge. It's where I got high-end fine dining type service knowledge, and absorbed as much as I could, and grew in that restaurant, became a server trainer, there. And then they had a manager and training program that was opening up. And so I didn't know how long I would be in that. And I just was like, I'm going to jump in. And I did that for about a year and a half, 2 years. During that, we would cut steaks every day. I would work on the grill. I was in the dining room. It did that type of thing. And then finally, when a management position opened up, I jumped and took that position. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to be on a high-end steakhouse. This is awesome. I'm going to get into a manager position. And again, I just love being a part of that environment and just the energy of it all.
Yeah.
And then with this other restaurant group I was with for 10 years, one of the guy that had always come in as a regular had approached me and said, I want you to come look at this restaurant. And I did. And he was like, I want your opinion on it. And I gave him my opinion. And he was like, I want you to come run it. And I was like, I've never been a GM or anything. And he said, that's okay. I know you're the guy that I want. I'll teach you what you need to know. So I was given an opportunity, right? I remember going back and talking to my GM at the high-end steakhouse I was at and telling him, hey, I'm going to go do this. We're going to open a restaurant. And I remember exactly where I was standing in that steakhouse and him looking at me and saying, you're too young. You're too inexperienced. 7 out of 10 restaurants fail in the first year and you'll never make it. That was all the motivation I needed.
Let me show you.
So,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of went from there, So, and then when I was with them for a very long time, but we knew we wanted to get out of Florida, and so this was an opportunity to come to Charlotte and be a part of the restaurants opening here. I was the GM of Oku Sushi here in Charlotte for many years. And I remember coming with the Indigo Road, and maybe the question was, what do you think about hospitality, or what do you know about hospitality? And I don't remember what I said, but I had no idea what hospitality really was until I got with the Indigo Road. I understand it now.
What did you think? What did you think it was, and then what do you know that it is now?
I thought it was a lot more technical things, right? Like if you would say hospitality, it was like, make sure the service is perfect, make sure the timing on everything is great, be nice and say hello. But I also worked for a group that was like, we don't ever comp anything or take things off the bill. Why would we? Unless somebody really complains, that's not what we do. And I remember in my first probably month of working with the Indigo Road, I was working at one of our restaurants, Town Hall in Florence, South Carolina, and we had a table where we had messed up a few things, and we took care of the entire bill.
Yeah.
Because we had made several errors, and it was the first, a month in, and I was like, I don't understand why we would take care of the entire bill, and we missed the mark. And if one of our guests doesn't find the value in something, or they don't enjoy something, they should never pay for it.
Yeah.
I understand that now.
Yeah.
Right. But at the time, first coming in, I was like, I don't get it. In doing that and seeing their reaction, and in learning that if we didn't execute at a high level and we didn't satisfy a guest in all aspects, they shouldn't have to pay for it. And that's something that is strong to this day, And so, at Oku, when I was the GM there and working there, if somebody ate half of a sushi roll and was like, I just didn't care for it, they're not paying for it.
Yeah.
So it was really about, I learned what it means to be kind, what it means to be just understanding and accommodating and, just warm and welcoming and all the things that go with that. It's pretty awesome.
I know this is part of your culture, and I I know Chris and I talked about this, the Maya Angelou quote. People don't remember what you said or did, but they remember how
They remember
you made
how
them
you
feel.
made them feel. Yeah. Yeah.
And you do that, you comp that table where you missed the mark or whatever. That you can measure the cost, the hard dollar cost of what your cost was for that, that meal. But the upside of that experience that you just created and turned something where they're probably not going to come back, or they might give a negative review, or they might be like, don't go to that place now. You're like, oh my gosh, like that was awesome. We got to go give them another shot. Like, let's go back there. And they made us feel pretty freaking awesome. And I'm probably
Yeah.
going to tell some people like, man, we got to I mean, you turn that into this opportunity, and you can't really measure it, but
Right.
if you operate with that ethos, well, look, it seems to be working, right? I mean, Indigo Road
Right.
is growing and thriving, and that's baked so deeply into your culture, and you're teaching people a way of operating a business that is so meaningful to the people that experience that, that they come back and they tell others about it. And here you are, with 30 restaurants and
Yeah.
2 hotels and more opening, and
Right.
that seems to be working pretty well for y'all.
Right. Yeah. And it's just the guest experience that people get when they come in. There's lots of things you need to get. You need to have the lighting right, the ambiance
Yeah,
right, the
right.
quality of the food's got to be right, all of that. But it just starts with people coming in and saying, "Good evening, welcome. We're glad to have you here."
Yeah.
And so we know that I like to use this word a lot, internal hospitality. It's probably my favorite thing to talk about is our internal hospitality. We know that if we are hiring the right people and we are taking care of our people and we're treating them the right way inside, all of our employees, if we know that is good and our house is good, all of our guests that come in are going to feel it. So we got to make sure we have the right people, to be able to drive that whole message.
Yeah, you focus on the internal hospitality, and the byproduct is great external hospitality.
Yeah.
The challenge with that, and you and I were talking a little bit about this, and this is something that everybody I talk to, I mean, this is a big industry issue right now, is it is harder than ever to find good people that you can shape and mold and help understand that and execute on that. Or maybe not good people, but it's certainly harder to find people that have done much of it. You have
Mm-hmm.
greener folks
Yeah.
coming into the industry. COVID, was what prompted all that. I want to talk more about that. I mean, is that the biggest challenge that y'all face?
Probably the labor challenge definitely been probably our biggest challenge coming out of COVID, right?
Yeah.
So for that first coming out of 2020 and all the fun that was,
Mm.
a lot of people left the industry. So we, I would say the first year and a half coming out of COVID, it was tough. We were bare bones in a lot of our restaurants, front of the house and back of the house, just because there wasn't a lot of people were still getting stimulus checks, et cetera. So there just wasn't as many
Right.
people in the industry, right? And so once those started to dwindle away, we did see some people come back, but it took a really long time. One thing that we do, another thing to speak to, the internal hospitality, right, is when we were coming out of 2020 and restaurants were getting back together. When we got to December of 2020 and we were so short staffed, we started doing something in January of 2021. I remember we had the conversation with Steve and he was like, we're going to close the restaurant for the first 4 days of January. We're going to give everyone a break. Everybody's been working so hard. We're short staffed, whatever. So we started doing these winter breaks and then we do a summer break. And so like we just did one January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, where we close all of the restaurants to say, y'all get time to just rest and relax. Thank you for a busy December and everything that people are doing. We're going to let you, like everybody, we're going to close those 3 days. And then we do the same thing in July, right around July 4th. We close for 3 days and we call it our summer break. And that's just to give everyone a little bit of rest and relaxation and say, thank you for what everybody's doing. So that really came about from everybody being so short-staffed and all the things going on, and we've just kept that because it's something that we've found that all of our employees love, and it's a give back, and it's pretty cool.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that goes a long way when there is so much competition for good people. When there's somebody else down the street saying, "Hey, man, I'll pay you X more or whatever," then yeah. But look at the culture we have here. Look at the way they treat us here. Look, we have those things. They make a difference. It's a place where you want to be. I mean, that's a rare thing in your world to have those breaks like that, and super, super important because you're in an industry, Justin, that just, I mean, for forever, the grind has been a part of it. The work hard, play hard,
Right.
the hustle, and there's burnout, and there's, people left the industry during COVID and went, okay, well, I've never done anything. And now I'm like driving my car around, delivering Uber or whatever that, the gig economy and all this kind of stuff, or they found different things. And it's an amazing environment for the right people, but it's hard work and long hours. And, the industry seems to be starting to adjusting for that a little bit, it seems, from the outside. But it leads to tough situations, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and all the things that have come along with that. Am I hitting the mark there? Like, is that?
For sure.
I feel like it used to be like, hey, show up when you're on the schedule, bust your ass, keep your mouth quiet, and and then hey, and we're gonna grind it out all night, and then we're gonna go have fun, and we're gonna freaking blow it out, and that you just don't see as much of that now. And there was good camaraderie that came with that, and like a family environment. But now you got to figure out how do we find that same family sort of bonding environment and get people fired up about this without just running them into the ground and having some of them ruin their lives because of it.
Right. Yeah. I think that making sure that our teams have the support that they need. I remember when I came in as a GM in 2016, there was not a lot of AGM positions in our company. The steakhouses maybe had them, but there wasn't a lot. Like our Oku sushis, there was never an AGM.
And a GM is like, in most places, is basically like the owner. Like you should treat it like it's your, like you're responsible
absolutely.
for.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're running it. You're doing all the things in that restaurant, so, but we didn't have a lot of that. But what we've seen is that we want to make sure that our GMs are not grinding until they're, to no end and working 6 days a week consistently and all of this stuff. So we just over and over have said, we need to get AGMs, or, instead of having a chef and then some lead line cooks, let's have a chef, let's have a sous chef.
Yeah.
In some cases we have a chef de cuisine and a sous chef in a property, because we don't want, whereas very common back in the day, I'll say, was, a GM or a chef working 70 plus hours a week. That's not what we want.
It's not sustainable.
And when we hear that a chef or a GM is, I've been working 7 days, or I've gone 2 weeks where I've worked 6 days a week, we're going to them and going, this is not, what do you need? What do you need so that that's not the case?
Yeah.
And we've sent people from other cities to go help other cities to give people relief. We actually just had this in one of our restaurants. We had found that one of our chefs went like 10 days straight. We brought in another chef from another city to come in and be like, get some relief, So it's just, I think it's the support aspect. I think it's listening to our teams and going, what is the best way we can support them? That's internal hospitality.
Yeah.
Right? Is what is the best way we can support you in what may work for an Oku sushi in Charlotte is not going to be the same thing that works for an Oak Steakhouse in Raleigh. They're all different.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just having those conversations and saying, what is the best way we can support you? And making sure that you brought up mental health, making sure that we're listening to our teams so that they feel like they're in the best spot. we have a hotline that someone can call to get mental health relief, right? And so in
That's
support,
internal.
we do. We have a number that people can call. Ben's Friends, which we've talked about, is an amazing thing. That happens like at Oku Charlotte. This happens every Monday. There's a Ben's Friends meetings, and this happens in all of our cities around where we have restaurants. But there's a lot of different avenues that we can go. Hey, we've got support, or what can we do to help?
Yeah.
And I just don't think that was the case back even prior to COVID as much, right? It's just become such a big focus of what can we do to help you? Because if our team is good, we're good. And our guests are going to be good. But we got to make sure our team's good.
Yeah.
So it's and that's why we have these extra positions that maybe we didn't have before.
Well, everybody wants to feel like you care about them. People want to feel validated. People want to feel like they matter and they're important. I mean, that's not always what you might get. Like, my daughter was a hostess at a restaurant here in town this summer, and I wanted that experience. I've always said I want all my kids to work in an independent restaurant because, first, I think that the skills you learn in working in a restaurant are so transferable. Because if you can deal with all that happens in a restaurant, customers, your teammates, all the things that can go awry, and you learn there's a lot of skills, some soft skills, and all these things that are really valuable no matter what you do. So I wanted her to leverage that opportunity to learn some things. But in that situation, I don't want to say it would, but I didn't feel like she got that back.
Got it. Yeah.
Right? Like there was no. It was just, here's when you're supposed to be here, and here's what you need to do. That's unfortunate, because I feel like this industry has this opportunity you could get a lot of young people that come in that start. I mean, everybody that comes on this podcast, 95% started when they were 14 or 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
So you have this opportunity to mold and shape these young, malleable minds and spirits and souls of these kids that that could turn into somebody that, like you, just spends their career here and does magical, wonderful things and takes great care. I mean, it's what we need. Like, the guests will support restaurants if they go and people make them feel good. Like, that's that you'll always go back for more of that. But when it's like you come in, it's like, hey, how are you? We got to wait. Like, you've already lost me in a way, right? Like, okay, like the food, of course the food's got to work in the end, but like that human connection, and we're going to make no mistake, like 5 years from now or less, I don't know, like McDonald's is going to be like a bunch of screens and
probably will,
and robots, and
you
like
see a little bit of that.
One person in there that's just kind of managing the equipment, but like, but then, so when you want something quick, okay, cool. Like, that's fine. But we're not, you and I and everybody in this studio today and everybody, if you're a human being, you want human to human connection. And I feel like the more one end of the industry moves to that, it's the opportunity for organizations like y'all to provide this magical, personable experience when I want to take my family out because we're tired of cooking and we have something to celebrate or something to mourn, or we just want to go out. Like, where are we going to go? We're going to go somewhere that we know they're just going to make us feel good about being there with a smile and with. So I was telling my daughter, I was like, look, here's what I want you to do. Like, every single person that comes in, look them in the eye, smile, and just say, man, thank y'all for coming in tonight. And then when they're leaving, thank y'all so much for your business. We appreciate it. I mean, just that eye contact and a smile is like, my point is the bar is so freaking low these days that if you just execute on these basic things that, you and I are about the same age, like we kind of grew up like that's what you do, and it's like kind of lost. But if you do that, people are like, whoa, like that's freaking awesome. And she would do that. She'd be like, yeah, that was amazing. Like, I was telling these people thanks, and they were almost stopped, and that's like a lost art in some ways. So if you can figure out a way to get people on your team and get them bought into that, then it works wonders.
Yeah, my son is a server at one of our restaurants here in Charlotte, and you were talking about your daughter at the host stand. He's the maturity and experience that he's got in seeing the way he's grown the last couple of years, and is pretty cool. But to your point about someone being warm and genuine at the front door, they're only doing that if they feel like they're being supported and listened to and uh, by their team around them, and that's management, that's other servers, that's other coworkers, all of that. When you were talking, it reminds me of this summer I was working in one of our restaurants here, and I remember doing this interview for this server that was applying at our restaurant, and she was talking about the place where she currently worked and why she was leaving. When I said, "Why are you leaving your current job?" And I remember saying to her, whether you get a job here or not, what you are currently experiencing is not okay. Don't stand for that. You shouldn't be treated like that. And there was a little bit of a surprise on her face of like, oh, and I'm like, regardless whether you serve here or don't serve here, or we choose you or you choose us or whatever, don't stand for that. You deserve better. You deserve to be supported. You deserve to be listened to. And being able to have a voice and go, hey, I've got an idea, or hey, this is a concern for me. Whether somebody has been with us for a week or whether someone is a day one employee, they each have an equal voice. If somebody comes in and goes, hey, I'm concerned about this, or hey, I'm uncomfortable with this, or this doesn't feel good, then we owe it to them to listen and go, well, we hear you. What's the best way that we can support you? Right. So it's just about being kind.
Yeah.
That's it, and just being personable and just caring. I mean, it's that easy, but it seems that sometimes that gets missed, and it's changing in the industry, which is incredible, but it just takes people to care,
Well, when did you move into your current role?
A little over 2 years ago. And so I've been operations my entire career. But ever since I've been in the industry, I've been operations. So I do financial operations. So I work a lot with our chefs, GMs on, cost of goods, and we do P&L reviews and things like that. And really, the way that I look at what I'm doing now is I want to be the support that I can for our management teams on understanding how does food cost work, how does beverage cost work, how does a budget work for a restaurant or a P&L. And I look at it as a support in that aspect for them. The only reason I am where I am today is because someone gave a crap to teach me something.
Yeah.
When I went to that first steakhouse, someone cared enough to teach me about wine when I was a young server and I knew nothing. When I got into management, somebody was like, hey, this is what this is, right? And so it was opportunities, and it was grabbing those opportunities and going, I'm going to learn as much as I can. When the one gentleman approached me and said, I want you to come run this restaurant I'm going to open. And I said, I've never been a GM. And he was like, I'll teach you. Us being able to pour into our teams is vital. And so if I can help someone, a lot of times people get nervous about financials or looking at budgets or spreadsheets. If I can make someone feel more comfortable in that and feel like they've got a little more knowledge, which then makes them, feel more empowered, then I want to do that. So I also just love looking at spreadsheets, which I know is a weird thing, but I love that aspect. And really that came from working with a restaurant that was losing money and going, how can we help to make sure we're not losing money? And let me dive into this, and so troubleshooting that aspect. And it kind of just came from there because, we have this one of our senior accountants in our group says, money comes in the front door fast. It leaves out the back door faster. So you have to be very mindful, right? And it's not one or the other. It's a balance. Like we need to have a great running restaurant, and we also need to be very knowledgeable about our financials and making sure that's in line. It's a balance of all of it.
Yeah.
So the best way that I can support our teams in that, I'm going to do it. And I do, classes and teachings with bar managers, and anybody who comes and is like, hey, I want to learn something. I'm always going to say yes to help, because that's the only way I got to where I am.
Do you, I was going to ask you, like, what a day looks like. I mean, do you travel around a lot, or what do you, I mean, what is I know there's probably not a typical day, but like, what do you spend the majority of your time doing?
I really, whatever's needed.
Okay.
There's times where
Good.
I've been in Charleston at our office on a Monday, and then Tuesday I was in another city because something came up and they needed some help or support, So I have this flaw where when somebody's like, hey, I need help, I'll go, and sometimes I need to go, okay, who can go?
Yeah.
And I tend to like run to help, and so I'm getting better at that. Slowly.
You got to find a balance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good instinct to have, because you can, it's better to be able to reel that back than have to learn to want to do that. I mean, that's a wonderful instinct that you have.
Yeah. So it varies.
Yeah.
Yes, I do travel, and I love to travel around. I love going to our different restaurants and cities, and it's fun. It's great.
How many employees do y'all have across your organization now?
I think we're close to 2,000 or just under 2,000.
Man, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And you've got 30 restaurants and 2 hotels, but then like Flatiron's opening
a few months. Yeah.
You got the Georgetown in Georgetown open soon.
Yeah.
What are the 2 that you have there? Are they both up in like Highlands, the hotels that you have
now?
we
got Snowbird Lodge, which is up there, and then Highlands, up in Highlands, North Carolina. We've got the Skyline Lodge.
Skyline.
Yeah.
Is that like an old
lodge? Old motor lodge. Yeah,
that seems to be happening a lot now. We're seeing
really
like
cool.
a lot of these like old, like almost like U-shaped or whatever places that were, sort of being renovated and have a retro kind of feel, and I'm seeing a lot of that lately.
It's cool. I've been up there many times. There's an Oak Steakhouse in that lodge. It's a great getaway. It's quiet. You'll probably see a bear when you're up there.
Oh, really?
But it's great. I've gone there 2 Septembers in a row for my wife's birthday to go up there. The team up there is great. It's a cool part of North Carolina.
Why the move into hotels?
It was a passion thing for Steve. He had done that previously and wanted to get into boutique hotels specifically. Mm-hmm. And it's neat. It's been fun.
I guess, and then because you can go into market, you already know a market in some places, like Asheville. Well, actually, Asheville, that's new for y'all. That's a new market.
It is, yeah.
I mean, you have the hotels up and kind of near there, but when you go in with a hotel like the Flatiron, do you come in with then? Is it going to have one of the restaurants in it, or
it will? Yeah. It'll have an Italian restaurant in it.
Is that in Indigo?
It's going to be it's going to be a little bit different.
Oh,
it won't be in Indigo.
New concept.
A little bit different. Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be great though. We have a chef and a CDC that we've had on for well over 6 months now, who are 2 great guys that are going to run that, and then we've got we have a culinary director for our Italian concepts, who is incredible and very detailed and focused on quality, and he's pretty awesome. So we feel really great about that. We're excited.
So you have Indigo, which is an Italian concept, but this is going to be a different one. Why something different?
Just different. That's a great question for Steve, right? He has amazing vision, and he can see things, and it's like even looking at some of our places we've gone into, like Oku, Charlotte, where there wasn't a lot there, and now everything is built up around it. And he's got this eye where he can see things. The Oku that we have in DC was in an area that was kind of up and coming. And so he can see these things before they're coming. And then we go into a place and do a restaurant, hotel, whatever. And it's pretty awesome.
Well, you just have to have, the vision and the patience and play the long game. which can be challenging, but that's good that he's got that. He's got that style, and that, he is clearly playing the long game. I mean, and you all are you're in DC, Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville,
Atlanta,
and then you're in is it Jacksonville or?
we have an Oku Sushi in Jacksonville Beach.
Okay.
Which is pretty awesome, and the team there is also incredible. Very, very busy. That's our busiest Oku right now.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's great. It's downstairs. There's a rooftop area. It's so 2 floors, downstairs bar, upstairs bar, right on the beach, overlooking the water.
Jacksonville Beach.
Beach, yeah, and it's incredible.
I'm going to be down there actually next Thursday. I have to go check it out.
Need to check it out.
Yeah, we're making a trip down to buddy of mine. We go down every year to this. A friend who lives in Orlando has this hunting cabin down south of Orlando, and we hunt wild feral pigs. It's like they're like a nuisance species, and so they need people out there. I'm not a hunter, but I go down for that trip anyway. We stop in Jacksonville Beach every year, and we stay. There's a freaking cool. It's in Atlantic Beach, which I don't know, like, they're basically abut each other. I don't know which one, how to tell one from the other, but there's a retro motel. This couple bought this old motel. They renovated it, like, 15 rooms, like 1 floor, and just a little courtyard, and it's freaking awesome. Like, that's super cool place. We're gonna go check. Okay, we'll go there.
Yeah, you should. It's neat. It's a little different too, because a lot of our Okus have got the servers wear black button-down shirts. There, it's white. They're wearing dark pants. There, they've got like a khaki pant. It's just got a really cool, fun vibe. And the food's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I said, the team there is doing really great things.
How do you decide what markets to go into? Is it more gut and intuition, or is it lots of demographic studies and all that? Like that. Like, how did y'all pick that area?
Yeah, I think that people that are coming and having conversations with Steve about different places to go into is happening all the time. He's probably saying no a lot more than he's saying yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's got an eye for seeing that, for seeing where something could be really great, to go into. The Raleigh market, where we have an Oak and an Oku, is in the warehouse district, and it's an area that's under construction and developing, and we were early to that market, and revenue and sales were a little bit lower to begin with, and then COVID happened, and then it was really low for a minute, and that market now is very strong and has completely taken off, and around that whole area is developing, and I think right across the street is about a 20-story high-rise that's going up now, and we were early there, and Steve just has a way of picking these things, of knowing this is a good spot to go in.
Do you typically lease or buy your properties, or both?
Mostly lease.
Mostly lease.
Yeah.
So you get in before an area gets, you're on ahead of the curve. Get a really good lease, negotiate a long-term good lease. Obviously y'all have a lot of negotiation power now with your brand. Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
It's cool. It's cool things happening, and it's presented a lot of opportunities for people to grow as well. I talked about developing people and supporting people, and I think that has to be my favorite thing, is watching someone grow. We have a gentleman in our company named Zach. He started at Oku Charlotte as a food expediter.
Okay.
And then became a server, and then got, and then went and served at another restaurant, and then got into managing and running a restaurant. He's now our director of outdoor experiences. That's the way that he's grown. And it's so cool to see someone grow and advance in the company and grow from within. It's a neat thing, because like I said, the only way I've gotten anywhere is because somebody said, I'm going to teach you something, and I had the desire to learn and to grow. So it's pretty neat. And as we do this and as we expand, it allows so much more opportunity, You had Chris Amato on.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Amato was a GM. Now he's the director of culture.
Yep.
And he's killing it.
Yeah.
And he does an amazing job, right? So all of these things, as we've grown, sometimes people can go, okay, whoa, you have 30 restaurants. Y'all are getting big, but it's creating so many opportunities for people to continue to move up in their career in things that they love and they're great at. And Zach, who is our director of outdoor experiences, he loves that. He loves being in the mountains. He loves rafting, and taking people on hiking, trails and things like that. So it's really cool to see as we grow the opportunities it opens up for people.
All right, y'all. It is time for a little mid-episode break. We're going to talk about Kickfin. Thousands of restaurants, bars, and breweries use Kickfin to tip out their employees instantly. No cash required. With Kickfin, tips go directly to your employees' bank of choice the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem because if you're still paying out credit card tips in cash, it's costing you. Time-consuming bank runs and cash counting take managers away from work that matters. Cash is hard to track, which leads to accounting headaches, and it creates the perfect opportunity for theft, human error, and compliance issues. Bottom line, there's never been an instant secure way to pay out tips until Kickfin. It's an easy-to-use software that sends real-time, cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts, 24/7, 365. Kickfin gives managers hours back in their day, makes reporting a breeze, and protects your business from risk. Most importantly, employees love it. Restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds. No hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Visit kickfin.com for a personalized demo. See how restaurants across the country are digitizing tips with Kickfin. All right, that's what they asked me to say, so I say it, and it tells the story very well, but I like to add this in. We referred a customer that we know and love very well, Sup Dogs, to Kickfin. Sup Dogs has been a customer for a super long time. Trust them very much with their opinion on these types of tools. They started using Kickfin. I asked Brett, the owner, recently how it's going. He said, Kickfin is perfect. It's going great. Exactly what we were hoping for. So there you go. Kickfin.com, y'all. Check them out. You just mentioned two positions that are just freaking awesome positions.
Yeah, they are.
Director of culture. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to talk to Chris, because I just think culture is, this is what we've been talking about. This is what the inward hospitality is. It's culture. It's,
Right.
What does it mean to be here, and what do we believe in, and, what do we hang our hat on, and what are the things that are non-negotiables if we're, what is our foundation and our belief mechanism, and how do we treat each other? The great thing about this industry is you can come from any background, whether you've been to college, whether you went to high school. None of these things matter. Doesn't matter, anything other than just, I say this all the time. It's awesome because it's like the most meritocratic industry there is, where heck, you could have been in jail, but if you have changed your life and you're now here and you're going to work and take care of your teammates and take care of your guests and, put as much into this as you're getting out, then bring it on. And you can go from, expo to director of outdoor. Tell me about that. What does that mean? I have an idea. I'm assuming it's up in the mountains at the hotels.
He's doing all kinds of things, and it's taking people on hiking trails. It's planning outdoor experiences when people visit, one of the lodges or the hotels, and it's awesome, and you're exactly correct. We have this saying in our core values is everyone has a seat at our table. Mm-hmm. We don't care about your background. We don't care about your experience. I was interviewing a server that had 3 months serving experience at a breakfast place, but was so kind and just wanted to take care of people. And the way she spoke about wanting to take care of people and how excited she gets. And I said, how's your wine knowledge? And she's like, I don't know anything about wine. I didn't care. We would teach her.
Yeah.
But when we hired her, and of course, she made an amazing impression on our guests, because people would come in and she'd come up to the table and be like, how are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Great to see you. Welcome, And so in So I hired her, and in the same week interviewed somebody that had 7 years experience and I think was a level 1 SOM. And I said, I always ask this question to every single person that comes in for an interview. What are the 3 things that matter the most to you about where you choose to work? Mm-hmm. Because that's important, right? Yeah. We want to know what's important to them. We want to know it aligns with our values, but we want to make sure it's something we can meet for them. And I remember the first thing this guy said was 7 years experience is, I want to know that I'm going to make enough money. So what happens if we have a week where it's slow because it snows or whatever, and didn't have a lot. It was more about him. Yeah. And so I didn't even hesitate. It didn't hire them, didn't even move past it. Right. Cause that's the person that when you come in is going to walk up and go, all right, what are we going to drink? Versus someone that comes in and sits down and the server or the host at the front door that says, hey, welcome. We're glad to have you in.
Yeah.
And you get that warmth right off the bat when you come into a restaurant or you sit down. That's what we're looking for.
Well, when you're inwardly focused or, like that, and the idea is like, I want to make the most money. The ironic thing is that guy's not going to make the most money is the person who money's the byproduct of being selfless and focused on others. Then you become valuable and then you wind up commanding good money.
And it just comes.
It's just like,
it just comes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I was a young man. Like it took me a while to figure that out. So I try to impart that on my kids now. Like I had to learn that lesson the hard way. You get your ego aside, like make people want to pay you more, not, demand more.
Right.
And so when you flip that switch, it can make a big difference. Well, I think the director of outdoor experiences is so cool. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, I know Georgetown. My mom grew up there, and I got to think of somewhere like that. Like somebody goes to the George and like all the cool things that, you for your guests that y'all could do, experiences to fly fishing and, all the cool stuff you could get on there. What an awesome, you have a director of outdoor experiences,
it's pretty,
dude. Like how many, Indigo Road is just freaking, dude, what an amazing group, man.
It's pretty cool. And I think a big part of that is by us connecting with our teams and finding out what is their goal.
Yeah.
What is their passion?
Right.
What do they really excel in?
Yes.
Well, this is somebody that always goes snowboarding and all the things, and all of the things. And, we'll go and live in a tent on the side of a mountain for a while. And we're like, man, this is a guy that's passionate about this role. This is something that we need. Putting them in this role, they're going to thrive and excel in it, right? And so if we try to put somebody in a different role just because we want it, they're probably not going to be successful in it, right?
Yeah,
so it's finding out what are people really excited about and what would work for them, right? And so that requires us listening to our teams.
Well, I mean, it's
just having conversations.
It's what it's what makes you come alive. Like, what are the things that make you come alive? That's what we want. I talk to my kids about that. Like, just go find like whatever makes you come alive. Go pursue that because you'll do it with vigor and with intention and with passion, and you'll be good at it because you love what you do. I mean, I tell them like I get up every day. I know a lot of people. They're like, well, that's my job and that's what I do and it's what I have to do. Like, I love what I do. I feel so fortunate because I wake up every day. I'm like, it's like I get paid to do a project, or like it's something I would do on my own,
right?
And that's what you want. You're doing it. I mean, you get excited about spreadsheets.
I do.
I don't, but I tell you what, like you want somebody that in that role that does, and that's an awesome thing. And so you found your way into something that you really enjoy. And Chris Amato is clearly, cares a lot about culture and does a wonderful job with that. So these positions that y'all are creating and putting people in there that, they would probably do it for free if money didn't matter, right? Then that's kind of what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is looking at my career. This is the best job I've ever had.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that makes me most proud is the integrity of the company and, the internal hospitality and, as big as we get, it's still about stopping and listening. And we look at a particular restaurant that may be going through challenges and we're all looking that direction and going, okay, so what can we do to help? What do we need to do to put something in place? Do we need to add a position? Do we, and it's just, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to be proud of the
Yeah.
team you work for. And look, there's lots of those, types of groups in this industry, and there's groups where, their employees may not say that. It looks good on the outside, but on the inside, there's a lot of stuff going on that, it's a tough industry to get everything really dialed in and right and grow. And not many people could do what y'all have done, particularly at the pace that y'all have done it. So it's a huge, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Steve and your team to continue to be able to grow and continue to be able to have people that say, I'm proud of what I'm a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, when I think about things that frustrate us, I would say that really the only thing that really will get me frustrated or mad, I guess, is when I hear that our leaders that we have put into a position are not being great to our people, right? When we get a host or a server or somebody or a line cook that reaches out to us and talks about how they might be treated by somebody that we hired, and it's like, that's not what they deserve or what we should get, right? So we want to make sure we're putting people into the position to be great leaders. And sometimes we miss, but we try to, correct that as quick as we can, because that culture and those core values that we have, that's the foundation, and it has to be right.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you, see, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
How old are they?
20 and 17.
20. Okay. You got a 20-year-old, huh?
I
college?
do. He is. He goes to UNCC here.
And he's the one that works?
He's the one that is a server at Indigo Charlotte here.
Okay.
My daughter was a host at Indigo Charlotte for a little bit in Oku.
Yeah.
And she does dance and her schedule was so busy that I was like, you need to not be you're doing too much,
Yeah.
So I did not coerce them to go into the restaurant business. They actually started helping out during COVID when, everything was shut down, and they came in and started helping, and they were like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So I did not coerce them.
Hey, well, so do you think, your son's going to college, he's getting a degree, but then he's doing it, like, do you think is it something he's expressed interest in continuing with? Or
he's going to college. This may be surprising, but he's going to college for finance.
Good for him.
I did not tell him to do that when he was talking about going to college. I think he originally was like, I'm really into history. And I was like, okay. And then some other time he was like, I'm majoring in finance.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Him and I had 0 conversations about that. And he was like, I get really excited about it. And he took a statistics class and he was like, I love that class. And I was like, I wonder where he gets it from. So
It's in his DNA.
Yeah. So, and my daughter's looking at colleges now to figure out where does she want to go. And she may go to UNCC. She just got accepted to College of Charleston. So maybe that's an option. So she applied at Chapel Hill as well. She's waiting on that to see if she gets in. So she's in that deciding factor right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Good options.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do for fun?
Hang out with my family.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Try to get quality time with them.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I've done and through my career is I haven't been super intentional with my time. Mm-hmm. And someone earlier we were talking to mentioned about being intentional. And I love that word about being intentional. And so I have learned over the years to be very intentional with my personal time. Yeah. And that might mean my wife and I just having coffee somewhere. It might mean my daughter and I having a night out eating somewhere. Yeah. But I love to get that time with my family. That's important.
It really is. You have a wonderful and wise perspective, man. It's so important, and it's so easy to get caught up. Particularly when you have young kids and you're trying to grow and you're in your career, and it's just easy to get locked into just overcommitting to that and undercommitting to family and thinking, well, I'll have time for that at some. And then, but you know it, man. They grow like that. Like
It goes quick.
it goes real fast.
Yeah. And I've made the mistake earlier in my career of like just work, and, trying to drive and get somewhere and, in not being as intentional with that. So it's really been in the last like 3 years I've used that, focused on that word a lot of like, I need to be intentional with my time,
Yep.
not letting it go by and not letting an opportunity go by to maximize on that, which has been huge.
It's smart and it's good, and it's good to be very thoughtful and intentional about finding that right balance between, because if you ever, I mean, look, it's just what happens. It's not just the restaurant industry. It's a lot, you overcommit at work and you burn out, and then you don't have, you don't have what your family needs. I've gotten really intentional over the last 10 or 12 years on, just, I heard you, I was going to ask you about this because I know you were talking to Robbie about the whole 30 thing.
Whole 30,
or like, I've gotten really
yeah.
intentional about exercise and what I eat, just your like sleep, food, exercise, like these things that are the foundation upon which if you have a good, strong foundation with this stuff and you feel good, then you're better when you're with your family and you're better at your job. And, it's just trying to find that it's not easy, but just being intentional about like, I don't want to work myself into the ground where I wake up one day, I'm like, well, I didn't spend enough time with my kids and now they're gone and I'm in bad shape and I feel crappy, but boy, I made a lot of money. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought of that because you were talking about Whole30, and so clearly you're being intentional about,
Yeah. I all that's important, right? Because I need to be as sharp as I can in my role, right? So, Whole30 was something to help me get there because I've done it in the past when it was correlated into an exercise regime I was doing. But yeah, I mean, all that plays into it. I think your diet, nutrition is crucial to making sure you're mentally clear and on your game. That to me, when that's a priority for me, I feel more mentally clear. I mentioned that I haven't had alcohol in a year and a half. That helps me be more mentally clear, and so it's different for everybody. And when we are talking to our GM, chefs, etc., we're talking about be intentional with your time. What happens sometimes is, let's say a chef is off on a Tuesday, and then the whole time that they're off, they're getting phone calls, texts, different things from employees, vendors, whatever. And we try to really drive the message of try to get all that stuff taken care of. So when you're off, you're really off. Yeah. And if I ever reach out to a chef or a GM for something and they're off, I'm always going to say, you know what, never mind, enjoy your day off. We'll talk tomorrow. Because that time that they're off, they need to rest, relax, refresh, be intentional with that day off so that they can come back 100% for their teams. So
it's hard.
It's
hard enough to do it yourself, right? Because it's a weird thing because if you're at that level and you're a chef, that means you work hard and you care about your work and it matters to you and you don't want to miss texts or calls or whatever. So when you're off, it takes a minute to check out. Like it's hard to do if you have like some people, they need to be pushed, but some people, to work hard. And then some people need to, be pulled to be like, look, like it, like check it. I mean, I say, you're probably like that. I'm like that myself. It's very hard for me to stop and just let things, but you need to, it's that whole thing, right? With the, you get on the plane and what do they say? Like if you got kids, you got to take the oxygen first.
Yes.
Otherwise, like you're not doing them a service of giving it to them, and then you can't take care of them, and you die. You know what? Like you gotta. It's just this. You got to have that mentality of. It's hard. It's why we talk about being intentional, and I talk about this even out loud to hear myself say it to always make sure I am intentional about. It's an investment to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. it's not selfish. It's selfish if it's all you want to do, but if you're doing it because you know that you need to be on your game and in the right place mentally and have the energy and all the clarity that you need, that's an important thing. And that's tough to, it's good that y'all respect that so much, because that person's already having a hard enough time probably not doing it themselves to then, like they need that though.
Yeah, and I think that what helps bring it into perspective a little bit sometimes when we're having a conversation with our management teams is they'll say, well, I need to be available in case somebody needs something or whatever. And then when we're able to bring the perspective of, if you don't unplug to get yourself back to 100%, you're going to be running at 70% for the rest of the week. That's not fair to your teams.
There you go.
You've got to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your teams, because you getting that day off, 2 days off in a row, whatever it is that you need so that you can feel refreshed, so that you can come back in as 100%, you're going to be a better leader for them. And when you can get people to see things from a different perspective, sometimes it helps them to go, oh, you're right. It's not, I'm just getting a day off. I need to refresh to be a better leader.
Yeah.
And that's so important. So that's why I talked about, we've added AGM chefs, sous chefs,
right,
et cetera, because we need to make sure that our teams are at 100%. And if they're not, then we got to go, then what do we need to be there? We can't change the busyness of a week, right? Like 8:00 on a Saturday night is always going to feel like 8:00 on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's going to be busy. That's fun. The thriving of the excitement of all, right?
Yeah, that's what we want.
So the business, it is what it is. It's going to be busy, but if you're structuring yourself right and you're getting that intentional time and you're taking care of yourself on a personal level, you're going to be so much better as a leader, and you're going to feel a little more fulfilled.
Yeah.
And if you just keep grinding and you're not doing things for yourself, where are you getting your joy and refresh and all of that? So it's very, very important to make sure that personal piece is taken care of.
It totally is. I want to ask you about, you haven't had a sip of alcohol in, you said 18 months. Is that right?
About a year and a half. Yeah. A little over a year and a half. Yeah.
I haven't had any in about a year, and it wasn't it wasn't that I was drinking. I rarely had any. And then I got to the point where I hadn't had any in a really long time. And I was like, man, I feel really good. And then I went to somewhere where I would normally have, I'm like, I'm just going to have water tonight. Let's see how it goes. And I was like, that's fine. Like I don't,
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger and less self-confident, maybe I needed the social lubricant or whatever, but now I'm like, I'm cool with who I am. And I'm asking you about this because, maybe it's, I don't know. I'm curious with the data supports this. I feel like there's more and more people drinking less.
It does seem that way.
Is alcohol, like, are you still selling as much alcohol in the restaurants, or is less beer, more liquor, or is there any trends that you're seeing? I've started drinking mocktails or whatever, whatever you want, whatever they're called. But I find that to be pretty cool, because you get this, like, you get some places where they've got this freaking awesome drink. You're like, that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Freaking good. And it works well with my steak or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen, liquor trends. We've seen liquor sales increase and wine sales decrease a little bit.
Okay.
But the thing that I love seeing is that it used to be years ago that you would walk into a place and maybe somebody would have a mocktail or a spirit-free cocktail or something on a menu. And it seems like almost everywhere you go now, they have a non-alcoholic or a spirit-free version of a craft something that they've done, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that traction. You've got a lot of companies now coming out with alcohol-free wine and spirit type stuff. But it's cool to see that trend and that push. Really, for me, it was, about clarity, but also I'm over 40 and, I used to have a beer or a whiskey on the rocks or something, and I was fine. you get after 40, I would have one beer and wake up with a headache. And I'm like, what's happening? Well, I'm over 40, so for me, it was about being just more mentally clear. But I like this trend. I think it's great. And it's cool to see how things are progressing and advancing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where all this goes. But it seems like more people are, to use the word intentional, just more intentional. We just had a conversation, with Robbie's friend. It's like people are thinking about it a little bit more now, and you kind of have to when you get. I mean, I'm 49. If I had it, like I would feel it, and I'd feel it like a whole lot more than when. And you're like, why was the upside of that drink or two last night? Does that outweigh the downside of how I feel right now and how mentally and physically just foggy and, like it takes its toll, and it's like,
because we would have a busy day in our restaurants, whatever, and you would get to the end of the day and you're like, I just want to sit down and have a cocktail for that relief. And I found that then I still was not sleeping great or whatever the case may be. I thought something in the short term, right, with 30 minutes to an hour was relieving some stress, and that's what you're thinking about, or not thinking about something, or to get through the day. But the long-term aspect, I was not as mentally clear. And so what I thought was something to relieve stress or just unwind, I'm more clear and more level-headed than any other time that I had a drink at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And you don't really, and I never realized that until I started doing this. And then I was like, doing the whole 30 and then coming off it. I was like, I'm just going to stay not drinking alcohol because I'm much more clear, so.
Well, it's funny you said that, the terminology used, because I always say this, short, good, long, bad, short, bad, long, good. I mean, like it short, yeah, sure, it feels good right now, but
Right.
there's a long tail of like not feeling good. And then short, bad is like, okay, I'm stressed and I really want that. But if you get through that, then long, you're going to feel a whole lot, it's going to be good. It's the same thing with it's why, like with exercise, it's like, this is going to suck for 30 minutes. Like,
right.
It's going to be hard, but then I'm going to feel freaking great for the rest of the day.
Right.
So I'll take that short suck for the long feeling, like the long tail of like feeling good. Like I'll take that every time. But yeah, it's just it's a mentality, but dude, this is awesome. What else should we talk about? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you about. I'll ask you this. Just talk about Steve Palmer a little bit. I have a lot of admiration for that guy. This is a guy who, I mean, I'm not saying anything he hasn't said publicly. He wrote a book about this. The restaurant industry saved his life twice. He was which is kind of the point we were making. This is an industry that will, you can go from homeless on the streets of, Atlanta to running a very successful, wonderful business. So his trajectory and his story is amazing. And a story, I read this in a book one time, a story is a character who wants something and has to overcome an obstacle to get it. Like that's what a story is.
Right.
And he has overcome amazing obstacles to have this wonderful story that is, still being told. But just talk about Steve for a minute and, what you've learned from him. And
I'd love to.
I know he doesn't want and seek the adoration, but I feel like he's earned it. So I just would love to give you an opportunity to talk about him.
Yeah. I mean, he has really, he's my biggest inspiration.
Yeah.
Like I read different books. I've seen different people and gone to leadership conference and stuff like that. But anytime that he gets up and speaks about something or we're having a conversation about something and listening, he's incredible.
Yeah.
I know hospitality because of what he has set forth for this company, the way that he speaks, the way that he leads. The thing that I love, I was mentioning earlier about integrity is probably one of my most important things, if not the most important thing. And Steve, what he says in front of people is the same thing he says behind closed doors.
Right.
He's incredible, and he's always caring about our people. We send these, in one of our restaurants, we had somebody that had a back injury and something happened. I remember a few weeks went by and he was, hey, what happened with that employee that had that injury? Are we good? Have we done something to take care of them? Is there something else we need to do? His level of care and concern for our teams It's inspirational in the way that he cares about our guest experience coming in. It's incredible, and there's no other motivation behind it other than I just want this to be the best job that people have had for the time that they're here.
Mm-hmm.
And I want our guests to have an amazing experience, to come in and go, man, that was warm. It was kind. It was everything.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned from what it means to really take care of people in whatever aspect that looks like for them, really that's come from Steve. And then the people that have been in leadership around him, Kimball has been a big inspiration for me.
Yeah.
And just working with him over the years. And so he's under Steve's leadership, right? And so to see the way that he has shown all of us what it really means to take care of people and what hospitality really means has been huge. I'm grateful, to be a part of it, and to really get what all of that means and what it looks like.
Love it, man. Well, he is. He's got a great story. I mean, I've been telling stories about people that own and run restaurants for. I mean, this is 2024. For 14 years now, 15 years now was when we first pulled out the mic and started. I mean, literally, like I had a $30 microphone that plugged into a USB port, and I would like call people and hold my speakerphone up to the microphone and record it, and that's where
I get this. This is beautiful. I
well,
love it.
Listen, okay, Steve, when you listen to this, so this is Everybody Studios here in Charlotte, and you met Robbie.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine who runs this, but they're not just podcasts, they're media production. And we've been talking about, like, we really want to start making films. We've done some of that at Schedule Fly. I don't know. Have you ever seen the one we did with Jared down at Indigo?
No.
Dude, it's on I got to show that to you.
Okay.
It's freaking awesome. We did it we were making films like 7 or 8 years ago. Okay. Like these little short films we did. Is Jared still there?
Yeah.
He was like the bar manager in Indigo in Charleston, I think.
Oh, I think I know who you're
Jared
talking about.
Chafin.
Yeah. I think he has went on to do something else.
So we made this film called The Barkeep, and it was like 2 minutes long. It was him talking about why he loves what he does and all this B-roll of him doing all this stuff. And we did it a long time. Like, there was no way to really distribute it when we did it. We were a little ahead of the curve with, like, we would make these films and they were awesome, but it's like, what do you do with them? And then with all the social media channels and all the way you can distribute content now, we're starting to talk about getting back into, like, making films. Anyway, my goal is that we, through this studio, one day make a film about Steve Palmer's life.
I love it.
And his story. And I mean, like, that story is so awesome that I think we could make a film, a short film that would be submitted to, film festival. Like, his story is freaking amazing. It is the quintessential story of what is so great, I think, about the hospitality industry.
Yep.
It is as a, like, kind of meta as, like, how the industry went from that grinded out, substance abuse, people are, dying from overdoses or committing suicide and all this stuff, and how the industry has embraced change. And now you have somebody who went through all that, who hasn't had has been sober for many years, but is still building a successful business in an industry that sells wine and alcohol, and that sells alcohol and that profits from it. But you just found the right balance of, like, being somebody that just is providing wonderful, wonderful experiences through a restaurant, through a hotel, through outdoor activities. It's an amazing, amazing story. And I hope we get to tell it one day. I think somebody needs to make a film about what he's done. I really believe that. Yeah,
I would agree. It's been impressive. And he's also, he's so good at listening. When he sits down with someone, or it could be anyone on our teams that maybe comes that has a concern, and just to stop and listen to hear people out.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see in different past when people have conversations there's these people that can't wait to get their version in, their defense in, or their word in,
Yeah.
And there's so much power in just listening to people and hearing their opinion or frustration or their idea or something. And so he's very good at listening in that sense, which is cool. I've learned a lot.
You have.
From him, so, and from the other great people on our team, so it's been fun.
Who else is we should get somebody else in here. I love doing this in studio. It's so much fun to just I mean, it's great on Zoom and all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
I love doing it with, I went to Greenville for both Chris and Kimball, which is awesome. But just hanging out in the studio, mic'd up. One of my challenges has been when I'm doing those, I'm 95% connected, but I'm also like managing the sound and I'm like listening for
Sure.
Like here, I don't have to worry about anything, which
Yeah.
is really helpful. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. So I find this to be a really cool. This is why I really wanted to kind of get in here, because doing that yourself and being responsible for everything that are we recording? Like I started an interview one time and I realized 15 minutes. I'm like, oh crap, I'm not even recording.
Got it. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I love having people from your team on this. I would love to have people here, that, so
We need to check it out. We need to get someone
y'all
else
think
in.
about
we
who
need
else.
to get Steve back.
Well,
in too.
Steve and I have talked about that. Next time he's in town, I know
Yep.
he's all over and it's hard, but
Yeah.
we'd really, and he knows Robbie.
Yep.
Those guys
Yep.
know each other. So, we'd love to have him in here for sure. Whether we can make a film one day, just to have him
Sure.
back on the podcast. It's been a long time and there's so much to talk about. And we do have a lot of respect for him. So, well, dude, I know you're a busy guy. I'm sorry to pull you away from the spreadsheets for a little while, but
I love it.
I hope this has been a good experience because I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I just think y'all have a great organization, and I think you're wise beyond your years at 46, man. Like that's for sure. You've learned from the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, good. Anything else you want to?
No, I appreciate. This has been great.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for what's coming, and it's cool.
Y'all got a big year ahead. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll wrap with that. Thanks, Justin.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. All right. That's a wrap. Hey, y'all, before you dial out, just a quick request. If you are listening to this podcast on iTunes, if you would give us a star rating and a comment, it would be so helpful. If you're on Spotify, if you'd follow us or whatever platform you're on, if there's a rating or a follow, please do that. What that does is it tells these algorithms to put this content in front of more people that are looking for this type of content. So if you enjoy the episode, please do that. Thank you so much for listening to Restaurant Owners Uncorked or watching on YouTube. We appreciate you. We're proud to be able to do this, and we're just going to keep putting out great content, y'all. So stay tuned. Thank you.